in a record shop named Kebo Stereo. The owner, Leviathan Lee, is sleeping with his head on the table. His sleep gets interrupted when the shop door opens and a woman with her driver enters his shop. She asks him if he's Leviathan, and after his confirmation, she tells him she is an executive director of the National Martial Arts Association. She says that she came from Guangdong. Her name is Crystal Lei and her grandpa is Howard Lei, and it is nice to meet him as he came into the martial arts field before her. After listening to her, Leviathan invites her to sit and he starts pouring tea for her. As he's pouring tea, he asks about her grandpa, to which she replies that her grandpa passed away last year, which makes Leviathan spill the tea. Crystal suddenly says to him that she wants to invite him to go to Guangdong with her, and it would be great if he could be their association's counselor. In reply to her request, Leviathan tells her that she must have heard about him, and he knows how bad his reputation is in the martial arts industry, so he can't help her much. Crystal says that bad is not a strong enough word to describe his reputation, and those may not respect him, but they are clearly afraid of him. Leviathan replies by saying that she is telling the truth, but she should have came earlier, because recently he has been diagnosed with acute myelocytic leukemia. And she is an educated person, she knows how severe the disease is, so he can't help her. Crystal says that she understands what he's saying, but her grandfather devoted all of his life to the association, and she can't see it becoming a tool used by the politicians in power struggles or corruptive activities. Leviathan is still not convinced and replies that he hates politics struggles most, but he doesn't know how to differentiate her from those despicable politicians. He then continues that he is a seriously ill patient and he can't help them with anything. Leviathan says that they can stay for dinner if they want, but if they don't know where the door is, and gives his condolences for the death of Mr. Lei. Crystal still doesn't give up and says that her grandfather always admired him and used to say that only Leviathan had the sort of cynical character that is necessary for martial art practitioners. She says that whether he takes her offer or not, she still hopes that his precious personal trait won't go away, and she puts her contact card on the table in case he changes his mind, then leaves with her driver while Leviathan is watching them leave. Leviathan's face starts bleeding due to his illness, and after a few hours, he decides to close the shop, but while closing the door, he is stopped by a zombie whose face looks rotten and his eyes are bright red. Leviathan recognizes the man as Crystal's guard, but before he could take any action, the zombie throws a kick at him, making him stumble back, crashing into the counter and knocking over all the CDs. Before Leviathan can recover, the zombie runs toward him, and he again tries to kick Leviathan with all of his force, but this time, Leviathan takes quick action and he punches the knee of the zombie, breaking it in the process. Leviathan gets a close look at the zombie, which even makes him more disgusted. He then takes hold of the driver's arm and twists it back, breaking it in the process as the zombie roars in pain. Leviathan thinks that he has incapacitated the zombie, and then he casually starts to walk away, looking for his phone. But the zombie again comes from behind to bite him. Leviathan has already sensed the presence behind him, so he back kicks the zombie without looking, causing the zombie to fly back and crash into the wall. He sees the zombie lying unconscious on the ground and is thinking about how scary looking he is, but then all of a sudden something snaps inside his head and he starts to feel dizzy. Leviathan is confused by his condition and is thinking if it is because of leukemia when he suddenly blacks out. In his unconscious state, he sees some flashes of his life, like his meeting with the doctor, him fighting in the ring and stabbing through a general of an enemy army. He also witnesses a woman with great power in shackles. When he regains consciousness, he is still lying on the shop floor and a man approaches him. The man comments on the fight, saying that the zombie used Taitui skills and threw several kicks in a row, which gave him the upper hand, but the more surprising thing is that Leviathan managed to turn the tables. The man continues that it is said that Lee's family is best at using spears and swords, but now that he saw the battle with his own eyes, he realized that Leviathan and his family are also great kung fu fighters, even with their bare hands. Leviathan slowly gets up to the couch and asks the man where that woman is. The mysterious man replies that the zombie has disappeared, and he is not related to them in any way, but he still shares something common with them, as he is also interested in Leviathan. He says that Leviathan don't have to worry because he just wanted to say hi through the thought of that man with the crew cut, and they don't know about him. The man then takes out his card and tells Leviathan that he can call him Tapir. Leviathan, in reply to his long speech, only asks him if he wants to eat dumplings, making the man laugh and reply. Tapir then says to him that he can save his life, but what he will offer is not some lousy bone marrow, and he brought something better than that. Leviathan asks Tapir what he wants from him, to which he replies that he will know when they will give it a go, but he needs to understand that once he makes his decision, there won't be any turning back. Leviathan says that his situation can't get any worse either way, and urges the man to tell him the offer. Tapir excitedly says, "Let's get started," and just then a huge cloud of black smoke enters the shop from behind him, which surrounds Leviathan and turns his vision black as a voice welcomes him to the Netherworld. Leviathan feels himself falling down into a deep pit with big chains around him and lightning bolts striking in the dark sky. He falls on the ground of some ancient mansion, inside the pool of red blood, and in his half-conscious state. He sees some demons looming over the sky and hears a woman telling a person named Xingzhou to wake him up. He is suddenly thrown into the red water again, and he sinks down while thinking, who was that woman? When he wakes up again, he's in a boxing ring, this time where two men are beating each other up. He recognizes the place as an illegal boxing match arena and looks around for the strange, chubby man from his shop. Suddenly, a system message appears in front of him, which addresses him as Lord Xingzhao, telling him that he is in the Netherworld and they have prepared a new identity for him so no one will find him suspicious and he should relax and have fun. The screen changes to another one which tells him about his first mission in the Netherland. The mission window reads that it is 1986 AD and the place is Kowloon City. His mission includes 3 nether incidents as requirements, which are his staying in the ring till the 7th opponent comes, getting a random piece of the ancient novel The Sunken Crook, and awakening the Ubume bird in the ancient novel The Sunken Crook. His mission will start when he fulfills any one of the above-mentioned requirements and the time limit of his stay is 1 month, but if he loses the boxing match, the mission will be seen to have 0 progress and he will be brought back to real life instantly. As the next page appears in front of him, Leviathan can see his health status and talents, giving him an idea of his strength. After seeing his talent and martial arts skills, he realizes that he still has space for improvement. As he is thinking about this, he feels someone approaching him from behind and he quickly turns back to hold the man's arm before he could be attacked. The man known as Miss Nine says to Leviathan to not stand here like a zombie and gets in the ring to fight. Leviathan is a little bit confused as the words just disappear in front of his eyes, while the man shouts at him to keep up. Instead of replying to the angry man, Leviathan is thinking that if Tapir can bring him back to 1986, to this place called Hong Kong, then he can surely cure his disease. Just then, when the host announces that they are inviting the player whom their audience has put the most bets on. As Leviathan steps toward the ring, the host announces that the person is an amazing warrior, and he declared to defeat every opponent in this ring, including the 6 boxers who haven't got on the stage. Leviathan tries to get inside the ring, but the host tells him to go away as he continues his speech about the upcoming fighter, saying he was born in Thailand and learned boxing from the reputed comet of Southern Thai, the kind of boxing. His name is Putlalurk. Leviathan still gets inside the ring and takes a fighting stance as the host says that this person has practiced boxing for 20 years and for the first opponent, he would definitely choose some wimpy guy to kill time and will only get serious in the last round. As the host's speech ends, the ultimate fighter with blonde hair charges at Leviathan with his max speed and delivers the first punch, which Leviathan easily dodges by ducking on the side. Before the boxer could regain his composure, Leviathan holds one of his arms with one hand and punches him in his stomach with the other hand. Leviathan then tries to kick the fighter but couldn't attack further as the host stops him and tells him to go away, saying it is not his turn yet. The host then formally introduces the fighter named Puchai as the audience chants his name loudly. After waving to his fans, Puchai chooses Leviathan as his first opponent, so the host asks him to come to the ring. As Leviathan is heading toward the ring, he observes a red light emitting from Puchai. Leviathan jumps inside the ring and quickly delivers the first hit to Puchai by kicking him in the back of his knee, which throws him to the ground. A strange man in the audience keenly observes his fighting techniques. Puchai regains his composure and takes his stance again, ready to attack Leviathan. He moves forward, saying that it is his turn, but before he could attack Leviathan, once again, he takes the first hit, and Leviathan throws a strong punch at him, which he blocks with his arms. Leviathan then kicks him in the knee with his full force, which cracks his knee bones. Everyone could hear the sound of bones cracking as Puchai lies down, yelling in pain. The host is shocked by the sudden turns of events while the audience shouts angrily at Puchai, saying that they lost all of their money in this bet. The host is standing still and Leviathan tells him to announce the winner. The host reluctantly raises Leviathan's hand, declaring him as the winner of the match. Leviathan then asks the host that Puchai declared that he would defeat everyone in this ring, but now that he has lost, who would be the next opponent against him? The strange man from the audience speaks first, saying that the game won't continue until someone places the bet, as people placed bets on Puchai for him to survive all the rounds, and based on that, Leviathan got an opportunity to get in the ring. The man says that if no one places bets on him winning against all of the opponents, then he will have to leave because the bunch of fighters standing there are no match against him. The man then takes out a bundle of cash and asks Leviathan if he will dare fight with his man, and whether he loses or wins, he can get $50,000. Leviathan thinks to himself that is a huge sum of money in this era, but he has to go back in 1 month, and no matter how much he earns, he can't take it back with him. Just then, another system window appears in front of him, telling him that the money can be used to exchange for 5 nether points, but he can only use to trade for other things with money after it is confirmed to be owned by him. After Leviathan agrees with his offer, the man turns to Mr. 9 and says that he is glad they decided to keep the game going and they can choose which boxers they like and he will make the arrangements right away. 9 says that he can't let his players into the game because it is a violation of the rules, to which the man says that he can't pay $50,000 to watch some clowns fighting. He then says to 9 that he just wanted to have his guy get on stage, and he will pay as much as the organizers ask for, as none of the rules of the committee forbid an outsider to play. He then tells 9 to go away. 9 quickly leaves the stairs and goes to Leviathan. 9 tells Leviathan that the man in the white suit is a new emerging leader of the Woolly Victory Gang, so Leviathan should take the few punches and lie down so he can easily get the $50,000. Leviathan agrees with 9's suggestion while looking at some blood coming from his nose, and he thinks to himself that even though he's still having a fever, throwing uppercuts feels very good, and as he is still alive, this is the right way to live a life. Meanwhile, the man in the white suit tells his fighter named Victor to get on the stage and have fun with this 8-trigram palm master. As Victor quickly jumps up to go in the ring, the man in the white suit gives a briefing on Victor's life, saying that unlike those who have studied martial arts for only 3 or 5 years, Victor has spent over a dozen years in martial arts study, and in any national martial arts training institute, he is qualified enough to teach students. According to him, in the past, Victor had a battle against a kung fu master expertised at Cheng's 8-trigram palm skills. He lost the fight, and in the end, his 5 ribs were broken and his right ear went dead after that, so over the years, he has always been hoping to battle again with an 8-trigram palm practitioner as he wants revenge, and today is the perfect opportunity for that. When Victor goes on the stage, he introduces himself to Leviathan, saying that he studied at Deuce Boxing and gives a polite greeting. They are standing, facing each other, and as soon as Leviathan introduces himself, Victor charges at him. Victor tries to hit him with his elbow and knee together, but Leviathan manages to block the attack by stopping Victor's arm with his elbow and his knee with his hand. Victor then quickly delivers a strong and fast punch, but his attack is again blocked by Leviathan, who uses his hand to stop the punch, but he stumbles back to keep his distance. Leviathan is impressed by Victor's skills and thinks to himself that he shouldn't have underestimated this small-town martial master. As Victor says to him that he is very arrogant, Leviathan replies that he didn't expect a tiny gangster to be an expert at Deuce Boxing, but now he will take this fight seriously. Leviathan then starts running toward Victor with full force, and as he is about to deliver a powerful punch, someone from the crowd shouts at them to stop. They both stop in their tracks and look toward the entrance, where a man with red hair makes his appearance into the arena with a bunch of people following him. The man in the white suit signs and says that it is the Red Phantom. The man in the white suit turns toward Red Phantom, saying that it is a surprise to see him, and then asks him what he wants now, as his committee member Mr. Wu messed with them while their Wally Victory Gang just wanted to watch a boxing match in Kowloon City, and now Red Phantom is actually trying to drive them away. Red Phantom lights a cigarette before replying, and then he says that what happened between Mr. Wu and Wally's Victory Gang is not their concern, and they count on the boxing match to make a living and follow Taitui. He says to the man that they treat his boxing arena like a pigsty. which is a major violation of their rules. The man replies that he will be honest with him. Victor has been longing to fight someone good at 8 trigram palm skills, and he didn't mean to break any rules, as his only intent was for his best man to have a boxing match with their boxers. And now, Red Phantom turning him down on this tiniest favor is like a slap to his face. Red Phantom says that rules are rules, and he don't care what his intent is by sending his people on the stage. He will be seen as a challenge to them. Victor suddenly jumps out of the boxing ring and asks Red Phantom if he followed all the rules. Will he be given the opportunity to have a boxing match with Leviathan? Red Phantom replies that for that, he will have to start from the first round. If the committee regards that the two of them have close enough scores and there are people willing to place heavy bets, then they can have a boxing match. The man in the white dress says that the gang leaders all care about their buddies, but when Red Phantom doesn't reply to him, he stands up to leave the arena with his group. Before following his boss, Victor says to Leviathan that few players in this boxing ring are traditional martial arts practitioners, and it is a shame that today they couldn't have a match. But after he gains his footing in the boxing industry, he will come back to have a match with him. He starts to walk away when Leviathan asks him if the bet of $50,000 still counts, to which he gives a positive reply. After Victor leaves, Leviathan is sitting alone on a chair when another system window appears in front of him, telling him that he got 5 nether points, and in this incident, he activated an additional right of purchase. It then shows him his purchase limit, explaining that he can gain amazing reading, which can help him gain information about other people, so that he would know their weaknesses. He can directly put this skill into use every time he gets someone's information. He will have to pay 1 nether point. He can also choose to spend 10 nether points in buying this skill, and after the purchase, he can use this skill as much as he wants. He can also purchase the Cell Strengthener, which releases strong healing effects on the damaged body suffering from diseased blood or hematopoietic cells and brings vigor to the user's blood. If the user is an ordinary human, there is a small chance for this user to gain the ability of blood activation. In this new window, he can also see a message from Tapir that says that this purchase will not bring him a full recovery. At least, he will feel better. The window shows him another option to buy, which is a cell supplement that can bring strong healing effects to the deceased blood cells and other cells. It can also add to the user's blood vigor, and if the user is a healthy man, he or she will gain the ability of blood activation. The system tells him that the additional rights of purchase granted by Tapir to him can be exercised in every nether incident, and after 3 nether incidents, this gift no longer exists. As he reads a message from Tapir saying that he feels like he is treating Leviathan well enough, he realizes that this is what Tapir promised to give him, and this thing can cure his disease. He thinks to himself that he doesn't have much time to wait till 3 nether incidents happen, so he has to get enough nether points here, and to reach this goal, he will have to earn a large sum of money. Leviathan then walks into the city and goes to a shabby-looking apartment building where he's supposed to live in, making him angry at his agent. While standing there, he remembers his earlier meeting with Red Phantom. As they stand at a bridge, looking over at the city, Red Phantom tells him that this town is the famous land of freedom, and everything goes wild here. He says that every year countless fugitives come here for sheltering, and they either become hatchetmen or underworld boxers just like him. But in Kowloon City, without the committee's permission, no one would be bold enough to provoke a fight because all the gangs obey the committee. Red Phantom says that at this very place, the boss, the master, and the lord are the committee, and if he wants to make a living by playing underworld boxing matches, then he will have to follow Taitui, the general conduct counselor of the conduct committee of Kowloon City, and he is the ultimate boss of all the underworld boxing business in this city. Red Phantom then says to him he heard about Leviathan as he had a stunning performance, and he knocked down Puchai with several kicks and punches. Red Phantom then offers Leviathan to be his subordinate and box for him, and in return, he will be rewarded with money, women, or whatever he likes. Leviathan in reply says that he was told that he is playing in the 4th ground and asks if he played in the 5th ground or above. How much can he earn from those? Red Phantom tells him that the 4th round is just a small fight if he wins. He takes 5 grand, and if he loses it, he will still get 1 grand. The first 5 rounds are available every day. As long as someone places bets on him to play the game, he will earn money. The sixth round happens every now and then, but not every day, and not so many boxers take part in it, so it happens 3 or 4 times each week. He says that if the boxer wins the 6th round, he can get 30 grand, and if he loses it, he will still have 5 grand. Also, if some rich guy is willing to pay more, he has the right to make the boxers use weapons or fight in a cage. In those cases, he can earn hundreds of thousands of dollars overnight, but it is life-threatening as many people died in it. Leviathan thinks to himself that in order to gather 300 nether points in 1 month, he will have to earn $3 million, and there is no suitable way for him to earn this much money. He comes out of his deep thoughts when he hears the voice of a cat near him. He looks around to find a cat wandering there, and a little girl soon comes there to take back her cat. Leviathan turns to the girl and asks her if she knows where room 413 is. The girl seems to be a little scared by him, but still leads him to his room. And as he gives her candy as a reward, someone calls for her asking who is she talking to. She quickly goes into her house saying that she is talking to no one, and she just went out to look for her cat. Leviathan heads inside his apartment, relieved by the fact that he got a family as his neighbors. Somewhere in a casino in the city, a man named Git tries to sell an ancient map in place of his debt. After some time, somewhere in a dark alley, Git is being harassed by 2 people who say to him that he can't give them the box of dead people's money in exchange for real dollars. They push him down on the ground, throwing the box toward him, and Git leaves after saying that he was not trying to fool them. Git shouts at them that they don't know what they're missing as it is an ancient antique. But they continue to walk, saying that they don't want to see his face again, and if he came here one more time, they will beat him badly. As he's shouting at the men, Git fails to notice a man who's about to bonk him from behind. The mysterious man hits him in the head with a stone. The attacker then takes the map from him, and he seems to be quite happy. Git calls for help in a desperate manner, and the mysterious man gets ready to bonk him again. He keeps on bonking Git until he dies. On the other side, Leviathan is fighting in an arena, and as he knocks down his opponent, people discuss among themselves that he has won 5 rounds in a row. He belongs to higher levels than 4th, and it is unfair to let him stay here. Red Phantom is also in the arena, standing close to the boxing ring, and signs at Leviathan to come at him. Leviathan follows the orders while asking what he wants from him. Red Phantom says that if he keeps fighting like that, even the stupidest man knows he will be the winner every time, and he don't want to suffer losses for that. Red Phantom then offers him to go with him, saying that for the last round, he will take him to a bigger stage. Leviathan is intrigued by this idea and asks where the big stage is, and if he's going to make more money there. Red Phantom takes Leviathan with him as he explains that this place is called the Fui Building. The audience here is either very rich or powerful, and they would spend at least $1 million in only one night. He explains that the boxers here live on commission, so if he wants to make a name, he has to get himself a sponsor with deep pockets, and he will pull the strings for him. Leviathan only needs to mind his language. They then enter huge doors of the building and are welcomed by a young beautiful girl who asks Red Phantom where he had gone for the whole night and asks him if he was trying to avoid her. Red Phantom addresses her as Miss Judy and replies that she shouldn't be angry as it will bring wrinkles to her beautiful face, and he was only out recruiting new members. At the mention of a new member, Judy's attention turns toward Leviathan, and she says that she likes his cuteness. She says that even though Leviathan is cute, she still doesn't like seeing her guys get smashed after 1 or 2 rounds as she can't handle the humiliation, and says that Red Phantom should go in the ring instead. Leviathan quickly interrupts, saying that Red Phantom is his boss and he can't let his superior dirty his hands, so it is not going to happen. Judy slowly stands up and goes near him, whispering that if he wins, she will let him feel her love. Without any reply to her, Red Phantom takes him outside and says that Judy is one of the biggest sponsors of Kowloon's underworld boxing, and her late husband used to be a judicial officer who had over $10 billion. He says that if Leviathan becomes her fighter, he will be able to make a fortune, and if he wins today's game, he will rise to glory as the legend of the 6th round, and it has been a long time since he last recruited a new member and is now hoping that Leviathan will not bring him shame. Leviathan replies that he can be a legend of boxing, but he can't be intimate with Judy, and as long as Red Phantom will not pimp him out, he will box in whatever way he likes, as he thinks to himself that $3 million are nothing for Judy. Later, he's in the ring, getting ready to fight a boxer named Jonan, who is a serial killer, and the notorious outlaw from Japan. Zionan is an expert at guns and knives, as well as a master of Okinawa-style Goryu karate. Tonight, he has already won 3 rounds in a row, and among the 3 players he defeated, the least injured fighter got 2 arms dislocated, kidneys ruptured, and then he even passed out on the stage. Leviathan stands on the stage facing the fighter, and as soon as the handkerchief touches the ground, indicating the start of the fight, Leviathan lunges at the man. His first attack is to deliver a fast palm attack at Zhou, but Zhou manages to dodge it even though it was super fast. Zhou blocks his attack by holding his arm, but it only lasts for a second as Leviathan takes control again. Judy is looking excited as Leviathan is holding his ground against a veteran fighter. This time, Leviathan kicks Zhou right in the face, which sends him flying back. Red Phantom is also surprised by the fact that Leviathan is a fierce fighter and remembers that he heard about him that Leviathan stayed a few years in Guangdong, and he is more skillful at the southern martial arts than most southern kung fu masters of the same age. Leviathan is still focused on his opponent as he tells him to give his best or he will lose. He then curls his fingers together to perform a powerful fist attack, and then he hits the man in the shoulder with it. Zhou is in pain, but he tries to bite Leviathan in his desperate attempt, but Leviathan breaks his nose by attacking him with his elbow. Leviathan doesn't stop there and starts punching the man repeatedly with a barrage of punches. Each punch is very powerful, and he manages to push Zhou back. At last, Zhou lies on the ground unconscious with his face all messed up. People around the arena are impressed by Leviathan. One of them says that he will offer $1 million to let him play and be his sponsor, while some other people encourage him to play another round and even use the weapons. Leviathan ignores all of them. Judy, who was watching the whole fight on her TV screen, is quite impressed by Leviathan, and she thinks he is quite handsome. Leviathan stands in the bathroom to wash his face, reminding himself that a true man never fears any difficulty. While remembering the face of the man he beat up earlier, he reminds himself that he will have the $3 million and the book, The Sunken Crook. After washing his face, Leviathan thinks that there may be more rewards in the future, and he will have it all. He gets out of the bathroom to the hall where a lot of people are looking at him. He remembers that there would be a red light around the people who hold hostility toward him. The more dangerous the person is, the redder the light around them will be, and his ability to see through people with malice is a special treat for Nether Xingzhou. He looks toward the Red Phantom as he calls him and sees the deepest red light around the person sitting beside him. Red Phantom interrupts his thoughts again as he gives him some money, saying that he should get a bank account as soon as possible, and he will transfer the money he won from the boxing games directly to his account. Leviathan inquires about the money Red Phantom is giving him right now, to which Red Phantom replies that it is from Judy, as she asked him to buy a nice suit for tomorrow's dinner. Red Phantom then says that he must be tired from the boxing match and asks him if he wants to go out and eat with him. Leviathan tries to reject the offer, saying that he just finished the bloody fight and is not feeling well, so maybe they should go another time. But Red Phantom ignores his protest, saying that he needs some nutrition after his last fierce fight. Leviathan finally agrees with him and they both leave for dinner. Leviathan is surprised when they reach the place, as he thought Red Phantom would take him to some fancy restaurant, but instead, they come to a food street for dinner. They start to eat as Red Phantom tells him that this place has the best hot pot and encourages him to try it. As they both take a sip from their alcohol bottles, Red Phantom asks Leviathan where did he learn the boxing skills because he seems to know a lot. Leviathan replies that Red Phantom is also an expert at traditional martial arts, to which Red replies that he is not an expert. He says that in Kowloon City, no one dares to boast about their knowledge of martial arts, especially not in the territory of Taitui, and Taitui was the one who taught him everything. Listening to his story, Leviathan asks him if Taitui is a master of traditional martial arts and what are his expertise. Red Phantom gives a detailed reply to his question, saying that Taitui is the honorary president of the Hong Kong Martial Arts Association and he has challenged a lot of martial art training centers. He says that it is Taitui who brought fame and power to the Kowloon underworld boxing industry through fights, and he's a real master. Red Phantom suddenly realizes that he's the one answering Leviathan questions, even though he asked first, and scolds Leviathan for changing the direction of their talk. Leviathan finally replies to his earlier question, saying that when he was in Guangdong, he learned from the master of Bai Hemen, but by then he already studied martial skills of other styles as well, so he can't say for sure which particular school of martial arts he belongs to. He then asks Red Phantom if he heard of Howard Lei, to which Red replies that he doesn't know her. Their discussion is interrupted by the shouting of another person, who scolds the young waitress for spilling the hot soup on him. The young waitress is Leviathan's neighbor Sue, who apologizes for her mistake, but the customer doesn't take it very well, saying that her apology is not enough, and he slaps Sue. She tries to apologize again while holding her bruised cheek and crying, but the customer continues to shout at her, saying he will beat her up. He goes for another slap, but someone grabs his hand this time, and he kicks him in the face, throwing him into the furniture. Leviathan pushes Sue behind him as he says that it was just a bit of hot water, and he apologizes on behalf of this little girl. The man is enraged by Leviathan's tactics as he shouts at him, saying how can he do that, and then he calls for his friends. He tells Leviathan that it must feel nice to act as a hero and says that Leviathan doesn't know him, and he is with Wasun Champ Gang. The customer then takes out his knife and walks toward Leviathan, saying that he will give him the honor of becoming a great hero. He pushes the knife toward Leviathan, daring him to stab this in his neck. He starts to give threats, but is interrupted when Leviathan knocks the knife out of his hand into his own and cuts his shirt collar in one movement, barely missing his neck. The man is shocked by this as he stumbles and falls back down, and Leviathan comments that it is a good knife. Red Phantom finally takes part in the situation by saying that he is so scared by the mention of gangs and asks the customer if he wants to fight. The customer is shocked to see Red Phantom there and quickly says he didn't know about his presence there. Red Phantom ignores his words and instead asks him if he's new to the Wasun Champ Gang, because he never saw him before, and says that he's regular to this spot and that little girl is just a poor waitress here, so why was he giving her a hard time? He orders the man to say sorry to Sue and leave after paying for the broken chairs and desks. The customer quickly obliges to what Red Phantom said as he apologizes to the girl for being rude, and quickly leaves with his team after settling everything. Red Phantom then turns to Leviathan, saying he didn't know he liked this type of girl, and no wonder that he didn't react happily when he introduced him to Judy. Leviathan quickly interrupts him, saying that this girl is his neighbor, and Red Phantom was the one who gave him the key to that apartment. Red Phantom replies by saying that he was just joking. He gives Leviathan a cell phone and says that he doesn't need to play boxing tomorrow, just buy a nice suit and wait for his call. He will then take him to Judy's after that and warns him that he won't accept a no-show, and he should remember that he can easily toss him into the sea. Leviathan is more focused on all the new things Red Phantom is offering him, and quickly clears that he is not interested in boys, to which Red Phantom only laughs. Leviathan then comes back home with Sue and tells her to go home, saying that it is late and her mom must be worried about her. Sue goes to her apartment after thanking him, while Leviathan comes back to his apartment. As soon as he enters, he starts to feel dizzy as a darkness clouds his vision, and he passes out in the middle of the room. Leviathan drags himself to his bed, where he takes his medicine as he tries to calm himself while his body trembles badly. He thinks to himself about how his bones started to ache right after he was done with the match, and just now he drank some alcohol, which made the pain even worse. He then takes out the money from his pocket, thinking that they are 30 grand plus the 50 grand he won from the match that Red Phantom will transfer to him tomorrow, and he will have 13 nether points. After getting the money from Red Phantom, he's planning to buy the Hematopoietic Cell Strengthener, or he's going to be in trouble if he goes crazy during the game. The other thing he will get is the book The Sunken Crook, but he is thinking he has no information about that book. The next day, Leviathan dresses in the suit as per Red Phantom's instructions and goes to dinner with Miss Judy. They spend a good time together as they eat and drink while having some interesting conversations. After dinner, he comes back to his area on the bus and then starts walking the rest of the way to his apartment. He ignores some people beating another man on the way and continues to walk while thinking that dining with a sponsor is much more tiring than he thought. He is planning to make the best of his time to take a rest, as he will have to be vigilant and careful in boxing matches. He stops in his track when a man suddenly comes in front of him and bumps into him. Leviathan quickly holds the man's arm and tries to punch him with the other hand, but the man easily stops his punch and pushes him back. Leviathan realizes that this man just used military grappling wrestling technique. The man quickly apologizes for his mistake. Leviathan asks him where he is from, and when the man replies by saying that he's from the Heijan area in Anwen County, Leviathan tells him that he's from the same place too, and he even peed behind the broken temple of Anwen County. Leviathan then tells his name to the man and offers a handshake while asking his name in return. The man shakes his hand as he replies that his name is Anthony, but people usually call him Tony. Leviathan continues to casually chat with Tony, saying that he didn't expect to meet a fellow countryman here, and asks him why he came to Hong Kong. Tony replies that he came here with several fellow countrymen, thinking they might make a fortune here. He then asks Leviathan why he came here, to which he replies that his story sounds too bizarre to be true and he won't believe it, so it is better he don't tell him. Tony in reply asks him if he robbed a bank and is being chased after by the Hong Kong police. Before Leviathan could reply to him, his phone starts ringing and he picks it up and starts talking to Red Phantom, saying he wants to grab a drink, but he just had dinner with Judy. Red Phantom in reply asks him where he is, and when Leviathan tells him that he's in his apartment building, Red Phantom tells him to stay put because there's a group of robbers hiding in the building and that he should mind his own safety. Leviathan in reply tells him to lower his voice when talking on phone, saying that he's being so loud that people around him can hear his every word, which puts him in an awkward situation. Red Phantom tells him that those robbers are brutal killers and their leader is called Anthony, but before he could finish his sentence, Leviathan hangs up the phone. He then turns to Tony, saying that his friend is a blabbermouth and how could you just assume someone to be a brutal killer? They are interrupted by the cat coming there and Sue following her as she tells Leviathan that her kitten is being naughty again and asks them if it disturbed them. Leviathan doesn't reply to her and instead kneels down in front of her, asking if she has some money on her because he wants a favor from her, and tells her to get out of the building and buy him a pack of candy. Sue agrees to help him as she happily runs away, telling Leviathan to wait for her. Leviathan then stands up, sensing something bad as Tony, who is standing behind him, takes out his gun. 1 hour earlier, Red Phantom was in a meeting with his uncle James, who tells him that all the places in the north of Longjin Road belong to Taitui, and it is true that he is responsible for the security of Kowloon City. But to ask him to look for someone is Taitui's territory is not good, and instead Red should do it. Red Phantom replies that his field of work is underworld boxing, and he doesn't have time to help the police find some fugitives. He then says to James that he can go ahead with the search and he can search wherever he wants as long as he doesn't mess up the place. James instead suggests that he should ask for advice from Taitui as he has time and can wait. Red Phantom replies that he can't bother Taitui with this tiny issue as he will get his legs broken, and he tells James that he can do whatever he wants. Just then, a man comes inside the room saying that they found them as the group went to a clinic that is familiar to us, and the doctor there secretly notified the police, so now the police have entered Kowloon City. James replies that they don't need to bother Taitui now, and when Red asks where the clinic is, he replies that it is at 22 Sumiao Street. Back in the Leviathan apartment building, he tells Tony that they can go on their way and he will not tell anyone about his identity. As he finishes his sentence, he hears the sound of a click as a gun is being pressed into his head. Tony asks Leviathan to turn around and he follows his orders as he slowly turns around, saying that it is no use killing him. Just then, he receives a notification from the system telling him that he has a new piece of information, and if he wants to read it, he will have to pay nether points for it. Leviathan decides to read the information and the whole space around him comes to a stop. A digital window appears in front of him, telling him that he has chosen to use amazing reading on the target. When he reads the information about the target's information or weaknesses, there won't be any new notifications and nether points will be automatically deducted. He then receives a notification that the target Anthony is locked and he can discard it at any time. The system displays that he didn't find the target's weaknesses, but if he keeps on using the amazing reading on the target, his chances to know the weaknesses of the target will be raised. Then, a window appears in front of him displaying all the information about Tony, and Leviathan finds that he is a well-trained person and also a serial killer. The system ends the information with a comment, which state that normally they don't recommend nether players without a heritage to fight against thermal weapons. However, as you can see in the danger level section, the block is painted red, and when it's any color than black, he stands some chances to win the target. He comes back to reality when Tony shouts at him to be quiet and go with them. Leviathan follows his order as they go to a medical clinic where an injured man is lying on the bed and he is in pain. Tony brings Leviathan in with the gun still pointed to his head, and he tells one of the man named Charlie to tie his hands up and warns him to be careful because Leviathan knows martial arts skills. Just then, a doctor comes into the room and after seeing Leviathan, he immediately shouts at Tony, asking him why he bring one more person here. As Charlie goes to tie Leviathan's hand, Tony replies to the doctor that he is sorry, but he has got 40 grand in the bag plus the 20 grand he agreed to give him earlier, and altogether he will have 60 grand because they will have to stay here for a long time, and he is hoping that the doctor can give proper medical treatment to his buddy. Doctor becomes really happy after hearing it, and Tony points his gun to the head of the doctor, who immediately says that he will help them as they are good friends, and he cannot leave them when they are in trouble. Despite the doctor agreeing to help them, Tony still pulls the trigger, shooting him in the head, which results in the death of the doctor. As the doctor's limp body falls on the floor, Tony tells his team that the doctor ratted them out, and the police will be here soon, so they need to get going. While silently watching this situation, Leviathan thinks to himself that Tony is not some ordinary robber. He is cruel and decisive, and they will have to go now or they will be arrested by the police. According to him, Kowloon City is not like any other place. It's crowded and the roads are narrow with complicated small alleys, so running from here is not as easy. Charlie asks Tony what will happen to their injured friend Ken, and instead of replying to him, Tony goes to Ken and while shaking his hand, asks him if he trusts him. Ken replies to him that he believes him, to which Tony says to him that as long as he's not a pirate, he will not be sentenced to death in Hong Kong. He tells Ken that he will have to stay here and the police will take him to the hospital where he has to wait for him, and even if he has only one breath left, he promises to rescue him from the prison. Charlie is not happy with this. He shouts at Tony that he promised to never abandon Ken. Tony yells that they all promised to listen to him when they set out for Hong Kong, but Charlie interrupts him, saying that how can they listen to him when he's trying to abandon their brother, and they entrust him with their lives, but he's repaying them by treating their brother so badly. Suddenly, they both point their guns at each other as Tony says that if he wanted to abandon his brothers, he wouldn't have come back, and he begs Charlie to go with him. Charlie instead urges him to pull the trigger, saying that he can kill him, then he will get all the money. Charlie knocks over the briefcase of money, saying that they are going to die anyway, so there's no use for money. Tony shouts at him to shut up, and in their own fighting, they fail to pay attention to Leviathan, who silently picks up the knife from the medical kit lying on the nearby table. He takes quick action and wraps his still-tied arms around Charlie's neck and puts the knife on his neck. Tony shouts Charlie's name, but Leviathan tells him to step back, saying that Charlie will die if he pulls the knife. Tony tells Leviathan that if he stabs the knife, he will be dead, but Leviathan is unfazed by the threat as he shouts back at them, saying that he will stab Tony if they moves again. Charlie tells Leviathan to pull the knife if he dares, while his team members tell him to let go of Charlie, who is not worried as he says that he will die anyway when the police arrives, so he would rather his chances now. Tony then negotiates with Leviathan, saying that he is surrendering and on the count of 3, he will put his gun down and he can let go of Charlie. Leviathan agrees with their suggestion, but when Tony starts counting, and as they throw their guns on the count of 3, he pulls the knife, cutting Charlie's throat in one go. Tony and his team members are shocked as they rush to pick up their guns while Leviathan cuts the ropes around his wrists and throws the knife at Tony, who is about to shoot him, knocking the gun down from his hand in the process. Before Tony could do something else, Leviathan attacks him by kicking his chin with his knee, throwing him and his gun back down. Another member of Tony's group quickly picks up the gun and fires it at Leviathan, who's running toward him. Leviathan barely dodges the bullet and quickly punches the man in the face, knocking him out in the process. Tony tries to get up from the floor and pick up his pistol while Ken tightly holds Leviathan's leg as he was standing nearby him and shouts at Tony to run away. Leviathan takes quick action again as he picks up the knife from the medical kit and stabs it in Ken's head, killing him on the spot. At this time, Tony quickly dives down, picks up the gun, and tries to fire it at Leviathan, who jumps from where he was standing with the knife in his hand. Leviathan stabs Tony with the knife as the system displays to him that he had been using the amazing reading for 9 minutes and 43 seconds. Still, no weakness of the target has been identified, but he paid 5 nether points for the process. The system then tells him that the target is dead as he calmly walks away from the room full of dead bodies belonging to Tony's gang. The system tells Leviathan that he got the 2 pieces of the ancient book, the Sunken Crook, and he also activated a new nether mission. The requirements for his mission are that he has to awaken the shattered soul in the book fragments with ubume birds painted on, and if he fails, all the nether points he has in his mission will be deduced and his right of purchase will also be revoked. He finds that he will receive information about the book's location at any time. The effective distance is 5 kilometers, and he needs to be wary when the information arrives. He sees 2 cards with the pictures of someone named Madame Ki Hong and Ao on them, as the system gives him a reminder that he will gain more benefits if he gets more fragments of the book. The system then displays a notice asking him if he remembered what the system said to him when he first entered, and then shuts down after telling him to relax and have fun while addressing him as Lord Xingzhou. Leviathan thinks to himself that life is karma, because who would have known that this bloodbath could bring him such a precious opportunity? Previously, when he was giving a statement at the police station, the officers told him that the robbers had snatched some antiques from a bank. There should be 5 fragments of the book, and they were supposed to be sold in a charity auction event, but he is curious about what they do to the rest of fragments as he only received 2 of them. As he walks out of the police station, Red Phantom is waiting for him and he quickly asks him if he's alright and if they gave him a hard time. Leviathan thanks him for his help as Red Phantom tells him that Taitui gave them a heads up or otherwise he wouldn't have come out so soon. Red Phantom then points to Judy standing nearby beside her car as he tells Leviathan that she paid for his bail and he should thank her for that. Leviathan replies that he just got out of trouble and he doesn't think he should dine with Judy right now, but Red Phantom is not happy with his statement as he says that she got $10 billion and a gorgeous body, so he shouldn't be reluctant as it is not like he's being executed. Leviathan finally gives in to the offer as Judy approaches him and starts to walk him away while holding his arm, and she tells him that he needs a new suit. They later go to a restaurant for dinner where Judy says that it has been a long time since she bought a suit for someone and he looks great in it, while Leviathan is thinking that this suit costs as much as an hematopoietic cell strengthener and it is a total waste of money. Leviathan then turns to Judy and says that he can understand why someone would sponsor Boxer, no matter how much it is going to cost, but he doesn't understand why a woman would invite a killer of 4 robbers to dinner and even buy him an expensive suit. He says that he is curious to find out how much she knows about him, to which Judy tells him that when Red Phantom first talked to him about her, he must have told him that she's one of the richest persons in Kowloon City. Leviathan lights his cigarette as he replies to her that he was thinking about how rich she is and when he became desperate, he should kidnap her because a small portion of her wealth is enough for him to live the rest of his life. Judy replies to him by saying that she loves how honest he is even though his words are hurtful sometimes, and she asks him if he only wants money from her if he kidnapped her while she drags a foot under his leg up to his calf. She then continues saying that he asked her how much she knows about him because in the face of bloodthirstiness and violence, people usually feel fear or even disgust, but some may also be fascinated by fists, sweat, blood, flesh, and even slaughter, and she's the latter one from above too. Leviathan argues that there are many boxers, but Judy interrupts him by saying they are ugly and then tells him to come closer while ushering him with her finger. He leans down toward her and she tells him that when she saw him in a boxing match for the first time, she was thrilled. She leans close to him and pulls away after blowing air on his face while he nervously gulps, thinking that she's no ordinary woman and she's trying to get into his mind. He keeps blushing after that while Judy only shows a mischievous smile. Later at night, he's walking back home, ignoring the usual fight in his street, when he feels a burning sensation on his back. The system tells him that the fragments of the sunken crook has been located and it asks him to receive the report. Leviathan is shocked as a digital map of the city appears in front of him. The distance mentioned is 100 meters away from his location. Leviathan suddenly starts running at full speed to reach the place, and after he reaches there, the system tells him that the reporting time lasted only for a minute. Leviathan is still not disappointed as he is thinking that it was not in vain because now he got to know that there are 2 fragments in Kowloon City. He comes out of his thoughts when a man standing in the alley shouts at him to go away, while another man comes out of the building. Leviathan recognizes the second man as Victor, who once wanted to have a boxing match with him, and quickly says hello to him, while Victor also recognizes him and is surprised to see him there. Victor brings him to his boss, Mr. 9, who asks him why he came here. Leviathan replies that some stupid thief stole his wallet, and while chasing him, he came to this place, but he didn't expect it to see him here. 9 in reply tells him that he knows he's the famous god of the underworld in the city and his name is known to everyone, so what kind of thief was bold enough to steal from him? Leviathan tells him that he must be joking because he would never dare to call himself god of the underworld in Kowloon City because he's not trying to get himself killed. 9 then says to both of them that soon they will be meeting each other in the boxing arena. He tells Leviathan that it's been just a few days since Victor started boxing, and he already got 4 victories in a row as he smashed his opponents to a pulp. Victor is happy with the praise while Leviathan says to 9 that he is new to the city and hasn't gotten familiar with the place, so it would be great if they could tell him any reliable pawn shop in Kowloon City as he took something precious that's been running down in his family for generations and he wants to pawn it out. 9 tells him that there is a pawn shop called Li Xing across the road. The owner offers reasonable prices. He has a huge social network and he will just accept anything Leviathan wants to sell. He says that there aren't that many shops here in Kowloon City. Usually people with good stuff wouldn't choose to sell it here, and if he wants a higher price, he should find a shop outside the city. As Leviathan asks him if his bet of $50,000 still counts. 9 is thinking to himself that he is still after money and seems to be in urgent need of it. He then remembers Leviathan being with Judy and it all makes sense to him. Leviathan then thanks him by saying that he will check it out, and leaves after he and Victor say goodbye to each other, saying that the next time they will meet will be in the arena. After coming back from meeting Victor, Leviathan is sitting in his house, looking at the book pages and reading loudly from them. He says that the fat guy who named himself Tapir and the creature called AO are both characters of ancient Chinese myth. as he reads a page in which it is written that Madame Ki-hung is good at making all kinds of devices and doing tricks as she can fly with the wind of a flapping wagon. He thinks about how this is all supposed to be fake, but that guy did bring him to this Kowloon city. Leviathan talks to himself, saying that the ability of amazing reading is truly marvelous, and is thinking about the low and hoarse voice that referred to himself as Nether Shingzhou, but he has no idea what that was. Suddenly, the glowing map of the city again appears in front of him, telling him the position of Lord Qingzhou and the target he has to catch. He is annoyed by this, as it has happened to him repeatedly, but when he approaches it, it goes away, and when he ignores it, it gets close to him. He's thinking that the one who has the fragment knows his very existence, which means that he's not the only Nether Qingzhou in this world, but the other person is being so cautious that it is hard to deal with him. Just then, a trading booth is opened in front of him, where he sees the hematopoietic cell strengthener, which releases strong healing effects on the damaged body suffering from diseased blood or hematopoietic cells. He decides to buy the strengthener and uses the nether points to buy it. After his purchase, the system informs him that in this nether mission, he is allowed to buy such potions only once, and he can see the instructions on how to use them. The instructions tell him that when the potions used for treating abnormal hematopoietic cells and blood disease, the effect can be highly hypnotic, so he has to use it in a safe zone. The second thing he has to keep in mind is that there might be unknown results for Lord Qingzhou with blood heritage after injecting the potion, so it would be better if he used it with discretion. The last thing to remember is that the medicine cannot cure blood disease, so if he is in a serious situation, he should purchase the hematopoietic cell supplements. After seeing the instructions, Leviathan closes the system. He then goes to sleep after taking the cell strengthener. The next morning, he wakes up feeling stronger than before and is happy to consider the possibility that he has completely recovered. He decides to perform some martial arts poses as he tries to absorb more energy. He checks his punch strength and is happy to see the positive results. Just then, his phone starts ringing, diverting his attention from the exercise. And when he picks up the phone to see an incoming call from Judy, he is surprised to find that he had been asleep for a whole day and a night. Meanwhile, Red Phantom is sitting with Old Man Liao, looking at someone's profile, as he says in surprise that Taitui went to meet this person called Chu in particular, and asks who this person is. Liao replies that this person is Zach Liao, who is a top agent of Kowloon Underworld boxing games, and even though he's new to the industry, he hasn't lost any games yet. Hearing this, Red Phantom says that if he is new here, it is understandable why he hasn't lost any games, and even if he is an undefeated boxer, that can't be the reason for Taitui's visit, as Leviathan has won 10 games, yet Taitui doesn't have the slightest curiosity about him at all. In reply, Liao tells him that Taitui didn't meet the boy because of his performance, but rather because of his grandpa, Shongtin Chu. He explains that Shongtin was one of Yip Man's closest apprentices and one of the 4 major masters of the martial discipline of Wing Chun. Liao says that Shongtin once won 32 times in a row in the Kowloon boxing world, and at that time, no one dared to challenge him. The scene changes to a boxing arena in a huge building where 2 people are fighting in the ring as people in the audience cheer for them. One of the fighters is Victor, who is wearing an iron knuckle around his fingers, while his opponent is holding daggers in both hands as they get ready to fight each other. Victor punches the man with full force, and even though his opponent manages to stop the direct attack, he is still affected by the punch. Leviathan is sitting in the audience watching the match and is surprised that Victor is taking the upper hand in the fight. Just then, someone taps him on the shoulder, asking if he could sit there with him. When Leviathan looks up, he's surprised to see a girl standing there wearing a tracksuit. But she doesn't wait for his answer and instead starts stretching while standing there. She then sits down. She takes a small bottle of alcohol from her pocket and starts drinking it in one sip. Leviathan is surprised by her actions, but just comments that some women enjoy drinking spirits. The girl replies that it's Shaoqin spirit, which is a bad habit that she can't get rid of. She then comments on Victor's fighting style, saying that he uses Saint Wen's punching skills and Tai Chi footwork. She says that Saint Wen's punches are powerful, while Tai Chi footwork makes him move flexibly, and by successfully combining the 2 wonderful skills, he is a real master of martial arts. In the meantime, Victor blocks his opponent's attack with his knee and then turns it in such a way that his opponent stumbles back, and he takes this chance to punch the man hard, which sends him flying back. The girl comments that one of Red Phantom's boxers who knows 8 trigram palm skills is a fierce fighter with more experience than this man. As Victor takes his fighting stance again, she says that he's fatigued on the inside, even though he looks strong on the outside, and if this man can see through this, they might have a tie. Hearing her talk about boxing like that, Leviathan comments that she seems to enjoy boxing and asks if she studies traditional martial arts. The girl instead asks him if he's trying to flirt with her, which makes Leviathan embarrassed as he quickly says that he's just chit-chatting. She tells him to calm down, saying that she's actually happy about being hit on by a handsome boy. She then tells him that when she was a teenager, she studied with the 8 trigram palm master Chester Zhang, and she is the heir to Yin's 8 trigram palm skills. Leviathan says that she just talked about a guy who uses 8 trigram palm skills and asks her if she saw him fight because it sounds like she has pessimistic prospects for him. The girl replies that he's not playing today, but she can't recognize him as she never paid attention to his appearance. She says that what she remembers is that he's not using orthodox 8 trigram palm skills, and she thinks he learned his martial skills from some northern masters. She then says that this man may have a certain foul disease, and if he wants to place bets on him, she would advise him to be cautious about that. Instead of replying to her, Leviathan asks for her name, to which she replies that she is Sarah Yu, but the people in the martial arts sphere call her Taitui. Leviathan is completely shocked by her unexpected statement. Seeing his shocked face, she says that she is exactly the Taitui he is thinking about. But Leviathan says that she must be kidding, as it is shocking that Taitui is a woman. Taitui says that she knows he is surprised, but it is his turn to tell her his name. But before Leviathan could say anything, someone from behind told Taitui his name. Judy is the one who said his name, and as she walks down the stairs in all her glory, she asks Taitui if she doesn't know the boxers working for her. She then sits beside Leviathan and asks him how he could not know of his boss and if Red Phantom didn't introduce him to her. Instead of Judy, Taitui replies to Leviathan saying that people in the Fui building call her Taitui, so he can also call her that, and says that it turned out he is Red Phantom's new guy, while she was thinking of him as some doofus who's looking for fun in Kowloon City. Leviathan joins his hand in respect and greets her, saying he has heard a lot about her. Taitui diverts her attention to Judy, addressing her as Mrs. Deng and saying she hasn't seen her for ages. Judy replies to her that time hasn't taken away her beauty, but a woman should know how to dress herself up. Taitui replies to her that she is right. She will keep that in mind and she will be even more thankful if Judy could share her makeup tips with her. Judy coldly agrees with her and then leaves from there, dragging Leviathan with her, saying they need to be somewhere else right now. As soon as they reach her place, Judy angrily throws her phone away and yells that Taitui was calling her Mrs. Deng on purpose. She's more agitated when she sees Leviathan smiling and asks him about it, to which he replies that they haven't known each other for a long time, but it is the first time he has seen her so pissed off. Judy instead says that he met his boss for the first time and asks how he feels about her, and does he think she's pretty? Leviathan replies that she is his big boss, and he has to say that she is gorgeous, but she can't compete with Judy's beauty. Judy is surprised to hear the answer and thinks to herself that Red Phantom is a good worker. Taitui has the ability to get his allegiance, and she can also tame Leviathan. She then moves towards the window and says to him that recently there have been lots of new boxers coming to Kowloon, and all of them are fierce. Through the window, she can see the boxing arena where 2 boxers were fighting, and now one of them is lying on the floor with his throat slit open while the other is standing there wearing a mask and holding an instrument in his hand. Leviathan joins her by the window, and after seeing the scene, he tells her that the instrument that person is holding is a Lanmianso. It is the exclusive martial weapon for the North Cho Jiao Fanji martial skill. He says that it looks exactly like a pipe, but it can also be used as a killing weapon. He then says that she seems to be interested in this guy and asks her if she wants to be his sponsor as well. Judy playfully asks him if he's jealous and then tells him that the fighter's sponsor is Charles, and long ago he got her best fighter, so her hatred for him never ceased. She says that she doesn't care how many boxing games she loses, but she just doesn't want to lose to him. Judy then tells him that the new boxer is called Wolf, and he is quite popular these days. She then asked him what the probability was of him winning the boxing game against Wolf. Leviathan says that he is 100% sure that the guy will be sent straight to the hospital after fighting him. Judy realizes that he is joking and asks him to be serious, then tells him that Wolf is having another fight later, and she has tapped his previous performances so he can watch them. She is standing by the table when Leviathan comes from behind her and presses himself on her, saying that when he told her that he was 100% sure, he really meant that. Judy makes a move to kiss him, but then quickly walks away, saying if he wants to flirt with her, he needs to be more experienced for that. Just then, Leviathan gets a message from the system, telling him that the ancient novel, Sunken Crook, has been located and they have sent the information to him so he can check it out. Leviathan slowly walks towards the window, where the wolf has taken off his mask and is looking towards the window. As they lock eyes, Leviathan says to him that it is nice to meet him. Suddenly, they both start to get the same message from the system, telling them that they have found a paranormal adventurer. Wolf's sponsor, Charles, is sitting in a mansion with a man named Lei as he laughs, saying to Lei that it seems like his boxer is better and he is sorry to cost them a fortune on the bet. Lei replies that he shouldn't have underestimated the new boxers, but Tony was the most promising boxer to win at the 6th layer. It really shocked him that he couldn't hold up till the 20th round against the Wolf, and he further compliments Charles for having a good eye for boxers. Charles calls one of his workers and tells him to give Wolf 20 grand, and also to invite him for dinner. Lei lights up his cigar and again starts the conversation, saying that Wolf is good, so they must have earned quite a lot of money lately. Charles replies that they didn't earn that much because nowadays there are very few boxers who are willing to fight Wolf, and even if he declared to host, no one would place bets. Just then, a woman named May comes there, with Wolf following her wearing his mask. She goes to Charles, who asks her why she is here, to which she replies that Wolf wanted to come and thank him for the money. Wolf takes off his mask, slightly bowing to pay respect to Charles, who tells him to have a seat, saying he has done a great job today. Instead of sitting down, Wolf tells Charles that he heard about one of his enemies in Kowloon City, which is a famous deep-pocketed woman named Judy. Charles is obviously angry with his statement. Meanwhile, Leviathan is standing on the rooftop of a building as the system shows him the information about the paranormal adventure he found. Through the system, he finds that Wolf's real name is Marshall Zhang. His best skill is amazing reading, and his talent is ancient martial art skills. The system tells him that para-adventurer is a way to address a nether Xingzhou, and such a person might have conflicts of interest with him, but they share the same goal as him, so killing a para-adventurer won't bring him any reward. As he smokes a cigar, the system tells him the requirements of his current nether mission. The first condition is that he will have to fight to the 7th layer of Kowloon Boxing Underworld. He has to get any piece of the ancient novel The Sunken Crook, and the last is that he has to awaken the Ubume bird in the novel otherwise known as The Sunken Crook. Leviathan thinks to himself that he is 2 battles away from fighting in the 7th layer of the Kowloon Boxing Underworld. He thinks about the task in which he has to awaken the shattered soul of the Ubume bird, but it doesn't put any limit on the task doers, and the name Para-Adventurer has given him many hints, so in principle, he can work with that wolf to finish the mission. He is satisfied with his plan, but he is concerned as the system has made it clear that the more novel pieces one gets, the more rewards there will be, and there are at most 5 pieces, so cooperating with others is not a good choice. Just then, the door to the rooftop opens, and Wolf arrives there. He leans on the wall and starts talking before Wolf could even reach him, saying that he is usually not a talker, but today is an exception. He says to Wolf that they are here for different purposes, so he won't ask for his origin, and he should do the same. He asks Wolf to give him the novel pieces he has, saying that he will figure out where that Ubume bird's soul is, and in the meantime, he should only focus on earning as many points as he can, and then he will have to leave this place. Wolf is not intimidated by him, and instead of replying to his suggestion, he says that he just met with Charles and told him that he would like to have a match with Leviathan. And as Charles has grudges against the lady who sponsors Leviathan, he agreed to his request in no time. Wolf says that he will be honest with him, as he doesn't feel like cooperating with others because he doesn't trust people. Just then, another window appears in front of Leviathan, telling him that if he loses the boxing game, he will be seen as ignoring the mission. He will be brought back to reality right away, and he won't be able to do anything about what happens in the Nether mission anymore. Just as he finishes reading the instructions, Wolf says to him that the two of them will go on stage and fight, and whoever wins the fight will take it all. Leviathan starts thinking about the suggestion when Wolf impatiently asks him if he's going to say yes or not. Leviathan replies to him that Kowloon City is a giant mess of complicity, and their battle could be turned into a tangling pile of riddles. He says that Wolf started learning martial arts when he was a kid, and he knows himself well, but he's young and inexperienced, so instead of having a mind game with him, who is an older player, he thought violence would be a better choice. Leviathan throws his cigarette on the floor and steps on it, moving closer to Wolf as he asks him if he's afraid that Leviathan won't bite the bait, and then leaves after saying he will see him in the arena tomorrow. While walking away, Leviathan thinks to himself that Wolf is not the guy who held the novel piece, got close to him, and then moved away just to tease him. As he was about to go inside the room, the door opened and Charles comes out with his team. After seeing Leviathan, he ignores him and talks to May, mockingly calling him the king of the Netherworld and saying that they will see who is going to hell tomorrow. As Leviathan goes inside the room, Red Phantom and Judy are waiting for him there. Judy asks him about which weapon he needs, as she will have Red Phantom prepare it for him. Leviathan remembers that the man who was walking out of the door was Marshal Zhang's sponsor, and at the end of the day, it comes down to weapons. He remembers that Marshall uses a Lanmianso, and thinks that in the martial world 8 trigram palm, there are many strong and strange weapons. He then asks Red Phantom if he could get him something that is above 1 meter high or 1.3 meters would be enough. Before he could even complete his description, Red Phantom told him that he would get it done. Later at night, Leviathan is sitting in a restaurant with Red Phantom as they both wait for their food. Red Phantom says to him that he told him to get a body check and asks him if he did it or not. Leviathan replies to him saying that he shouldn't nag him like an old lady and that he knows his health situation. Red Phantom then asks him if he met Taitui, and when Leviathan positively replies to that, he tells him that when she told him to fight, she said that he was weak from inside and he could probably have a serious disease. Red Phantom says that he has his own secrets, and it is totally fine if he doesn't want to tell them to him. But he has been here for just a dozen days, and he doesn't want him to die so soon. He says that if Leviathan is really tired, he should get a break, and he will deal with Judy in this matter. Leviathan in reply says to him that he is sweet, but being sweet will not help him make a living in Kowloon City. Red says that Taitui said the exact same words, but he should stop, as Taitui warned him saying that Leviathan may break down if he kept fighting like this. Leviathan instead asks him if Taitui will come to see him play tomorrow, to which Red replies that he is not sure and asks him why he wants to know that. As they take a sip from their drink, Leviathan only says to him that he should make her watch the game. Later, he is walking back to his apartment, thinking about how he hates this illegal fish meat ball factory smell, which just got worse recently. He's in his apartment that night when there's a knock on his door, and when he goes to open it, he is surprised to see the little girl Sue standing there. He asks her what she's doing here this late, to which the girl replies that her mom heard that he lived alone, so she made him some roasted lamb to thank him for looking after Sue. Leviathan takes the plate from her hand, telling her to tell her mom that he appreciates it, and then says that every time she comes at the perfect timing, it is like her mom knows when he is hungry, as it has been several times he has gotten food from them, and her mom is a great cook. He then says to her that their flat seems to be dark at night during these days and asks her if their bulb is broken and if they are using candles. Sue replies to him that it is true as their electricity fell out long ago, and after listening to this, Leviathan replies that he will go to her home and check it out as maybe he will be able to fix it, and this will also be a good opportunity to officially meet her mother. Sue quickly says that it is good that he offered, but he doesn't need to do that, and then leaves after telling him to enjoy his food. Later, he's eating his food while thinking about how his life is actually good when there's another knock on the door. He gets up saying, "Sue, you're back!" And when he goes to open the door, he fails to see the evil energy surrounding it as Sue stands there with a horrified expression. In the year 1986, it is June 24, an inappropriate day for burials and a proper day for sacrifice rituals. Leviathan is standing in the boxing ring, holding his new sword, while Red Phantom and Judy are sitting in the audience. Judy asks Red where he got that sword and if it is any good, to which Red replies that she doesn't need to worry, as the sword is from Taitui's private collection and it has drunken blood before, so it will work. Taitui is also sitting in the audience as she thinks to herself that swords from the Han Dynasty consume lots of the user's energy, and given Leviathan's current health state, he can't bear it all, but he doesn't seem like a suicidal person, so maybe she made a mistake when she assessed him. Wolf also enters the boxing arena, and as he stands there facing Leviathan, he uses his amazing reading skills and can see that Leviathan has 81% ancient martial arts power, which is 12% higher than his own. He still motivates himself, saying nothing is impossible and he might win this game. He then introduces himself as Marshal Zhang from Jiximen, and in return, Leviathan also introduces himself, saying that he is from Hejian. After the introduction, Wolf quickly takes action as he swings his weapon with full force, dashing directly toward Leviathan in a single leap. Wolf's weapon, the Lanmian So, is about to hit Leviathan on his shoulder, but he swings his arm quickly, pushing Wolf's hand away, and swings his sword to block the Lanmian So. Wolf recovers quickly as he once again swings his weapon and this time manages to graze Leviathan's cheek with it, but unfortunately he loses his grip on it. Leviathan tries to slash him with his sword, but Wolf leaps back. He left his weapon behind, which is in Leviathan's hands. Wolf is shocked by the sudden turn of events, as his arm got cut while leaping back to avoid the sword slash of Leviathan. Charles is sitting in the room with May, watching the match, furious that his boxer is struggling. On the other hand, Judy just smirks while sitting right in front of him. Back in the arena, Leviathan attacks first this time as he runs forward and aims to hit Wolf on his feet with his sword, but Wolf jumps in time to avoid the attack. Leviathan slides down on the floor to the other side while Wolf manages to avoid the attack and lands on the different edge of the ring due to his long jump. He quickly takes his stance again and turns back, but Leviathan has already got hold of himself as he acts quickly, this time stabbing the Wolf directly on his shoulder. He says to Wolf that he's digging his own grave, but he refuses to back down as Leviathan's sword grazes the floor after hitting him on the shoulder. Leviathan quickly takes a strong hold of his sword again and swings it in the direction of Wolf, who quickly jumps and then lands on the sword as it hits the floor. There is a sudden bright light on the floor which makes Wolf's eyes shine as he does a backflip, hitting Leviathan's chin with his knee and causing his jaw to bleed instantly. Just then, Leviathan gets a message from the system, as it tells him that he is facing the power of the Kaiming Beast, and that he got some new information that will cost him some nether points if he wants to read it. Leviathan chooses to read the information at the same time as Wolf delivers a hard kick, which knocks the sword from his hand. The system displays him the information, through which he finds that Marshal Zhang has some extra skills, including the heritage of the Kaiming Beast. Leviathan is shocked to see the new information, just as both weapons fall from his hand and hit the ground with the sound of clanking. Wolf jumps back into his spot with a golden burning light surrounding his figure. Leviathan takes the fighting stance again as he curls his fists, ready to attack Wolf, who is also in a fighting stance with his hands in a martial style in front of him. He then uses his foot to bounce the sword from the floor, catches it in his hand, and quickly swings it around as he gets ready to attack Leviathan with it. Leviathan takes a step back from Wolf and says to him that the power of the Kaiming Beast is not helpful unless it hits the target. Wolf suddenly moves forward, taking hurried steps as he attacks Leviathan with his sword. Leviathan easily dodges all slash attacks from Wolf. After closing the distance, Leviathan uses 64 hands moves of 8 trigram palm skill, and as Wolf puts his hands up, ready to attack him with a sword, he punches him hard in his chest. Wolf tries to imbalance himself by sliding his feet, but Leviathan dodges the attack and instead kicks him on the ankle, using the technique of entwining legs and making Wolf lose his balance. Leviathan then raises his hands and slaps Wolf hard, slamming him on the floor. He doesn't stop there as he pushes Wolf toward the ground and snatches the sword away from his hand. Leviathan quickly attacks him with the sword. The audience was silent in the jaw-breaking game, but when Leviathan managed to pin down the Wolf, they all start to shout praises for Leviathan, calling him the king of the Netherworld. Leviathan stabbed the sword on the floor right beside Wolf's head and slowly takes it out as Wolf lies there shocked. Leviathan asks him how is he related to Jane Zhang, to which Wolf quickly replies that she is his older sister. Leviathan then throws the sword and pulls Wolf up by his shirt, saying that he broke his right arm, and that if it doesn't get well in a month, it would be ruined. Wolf replies to him that he should have killed him, making Leviathan furious, and he throws him out of the ring, and Wolf gets slammed into the wall. As Leviathan turns to go back, Wolf asks him where he learned the Chojiao men disciples entwining legs, But instead of answering his question, Leviathan tells him to go home and asks his sister about it. Meanwhile, Red Phantom is sitting in a room with Judy, who asks him to get out of her room and close the door on his way out. Leviathan is standing shirtless in the bathroom of the arena, looking at his injured arm. Victor is standing beside him, leaning on the wall, and he says to him that when he tossed that sword away, he was afraid that he might lose. Leviathan says that he doesn't think he's here just to watch his game, and asks him who is his opponent. Victor replies to him that he, Leviathan, and Wolf, who he just defeated, are among most popular boxers lately, and he should know the fourth one as he is his opponent. Leviathan wishes him good luck, and in reply, Victor tells him to just attend to his injury, saying that he don't want to take advantage of his injury in their fight, as Leviathan is quite good at sword skills. While looking at Victor, Leviathan thinks to himself that he is stubborn on the outside and warm on the inside. He also gained lots of battling experience from his early life as a gangster fighting in the street and developed his own skills, and even Taitui would call him a genius. Just then, there's a knock on the door as someone calls Victor saying that the game is starting soon. Outside in the boxing arena, the audience is discussing the upcoming fight as they try to make a guess on who will win the game. Nine is also sitting in the audience as he tells someone that Victor is his best boxer, who never lost a game in the arena, and he is also going to win today's match. Meanwhile, the host says to Victor that his opponent today is an extraordinary fighter, as in the past 10 matches he played, his opponents died or became disabled, and if he can somehow pin him down, he should show no mercy to him. Victor replies that he has never felt sorry for his opponents, but he doesn't think it is necessary to take their life. He then goes into the boxing ring, where his opponent says that there's one thing he needs to point out, saying that now they are on the boxing stage, life or death is at stake. Instead of replying to him, Victor introduces himself, saying he learned Du's punching skills. His opponent introduces himself as Carl Chu, saying he learned Wing Chun, as they both take positions to attack each other.